I wanted to talk about a little something today because I was on TikTok, right? Browsing through the videos and stuff, looking at what people have to say. And I went on this little, like, mini rabbit hole of looking at how some black people respond to being called whitewashed. And I mean, you can take a look at me, the way I'm speaking, and infer I've been called this before, right? And the main reasoning for why people call people whitewashed or whatever is because, at least in my experience, the person in question doesn't act black enough, whatever the fuck that means. That doesn't. Here's why calling somebody whitewashed kind of doesn't make any sense at all. I'm gonna get into like the both sides of it, but first off, you calling somebody whitewashed and they're just like not engaging in Uncle Tom activities, but like maybe they have a lot of white friends because they go to a super white school, or they talk a certain way or whatever because they don't use like a whole bunch of AAVE in their conversation or whatever. Using the most AAVE possible is not a measurement of blackness. All right. It's all like stuff we came up with, like as a people we came up with these words, but you don't have to like use all of them all at once in all of your conversations to fit into blackness. It's a certain type of blackness, but the beautiful thing about like being like anything is that there's so many ways to be as humans in this world, and as black people in this world there's so many ways to be black. So my problem with calling people whitewashed is, if like, first off, I think it's a bad way to describe um Uncle Tom's, or an aunt. uh what's the female version of Tom? I don't know. Okay. And whatever it is for non-binary people or whatever, it's a bad way to describe Uncle Tom's of that sort, of that variety. And also, the way I've seen people use it, they're using it to critique people who don't fit into their small and closed-minded like box of blackness. And it's very disturbing to me that this is a popular like opinion on the internet or in real life. Maybe not popular, but some people definitely think like this, especially people who aren't black. Like, it'll be like niggas from Puerto Rico telling you, "Oh, you don't act black enough. You're Puerto Rican. You're not black. Puerto Ricans are not black. I don't know why Puerto Ricans think they're black. They're not black. Dominicans, sure. Puerto Ricans, are you sure? I don't think you are. Or even like Mexicans or whatever. Like Hispanics, I think, save for Dominicans, should not be saying, "Oh, you're whitewashed" to a black person and you don't act black enough. Okay, maybe they can make the call. Like, I don't know. I feel like you can make the call when you see that a black person's engaged in some Uncle Tom foolery if you're not black, but don't say stuff like you're not acting black enough, um, based purely on a black person not fitting into your small box of like stereotypes around how black people should behave. Now, on the other hand, you have the people who respond to this charge with vitriol, um, anger, and anti-blackness. And I've been in this mode of thought. Like I remember back in the day, some people I knew would say that I was whitewashed or whatever. I feel like I didn't say it, but in my head I was thinking, well, at least I talk proper. At least I um get good grades. At least I'm not a thug out in these streets or whatever. And this is such a weird way to think about being called whitewashed. I go to what we call a PWI in the community. It's mostly white kids in my school. So as a consequence, I have a lot of white friends. I feel like I've developed a somewhat white sense of humor. And I mean, that's just That's my situation. That's my circumstances. I'm gonna have to make the best I can with it to stay black in this white space. And believe me, it's a very white space. I'm not gonna say where I am, but if you know, you know. But yeah, it's very white over here, and it's like no disrespect to my white friends and stuff. Like, some of you guys are cool. A lot of you guys, I don't know though. Like, a lot of you say are way too fast to say the N word. Actually, no, not way too fast. Way too eager. It's like y'all treasure that word, like Indiana Jones in the first movie, trying to steal that like Mayan idol or whatever. You like you say it way too much. You really want to say it. You think it's funny to make black people think you're going to call them that. It's not. It's not funny. I'm sick and tired of like having to be like, oh, that's not funny. No, it's not funny. Stop saying it. Grow up. You're like 17. Nobody should have a racist phase, period. But if you're going to, keep that shit in middle school, max, bro. It's not funny. It never really was funny, and it's especially not funny now when you're almost an adult in the real world. Like, I don't, racism is not funny. I don't know if that's a controversial thing to say, but racism ain't funny. And this is also reflecting me because I still think the N word is funny, and I gotta unpack that. That's not funny. The N word isn't funny. There's very bad history behind that word. That's not funny. It's not a funny word. But I digress. How do black people respond to being called whitewashed? Some black people. Okay, yeah. They get angry, they get mad, they get anti-black. They're like, I speak normal, you know? And I feel like a lot of this comes from like a place of pain where it's like, I know I'm black. I'm trying to be a good person or whatever it is. And I feel like because I don't fit into this view of blackness that some people have, instead of like thinking, fuck you, I'm gonna be how I am. There's no one way to be black. People think, screw the one way to be black. Screw that version of blackness. People adapt to the wrong thing instead of thinking when they hear someone call them this and they're not engaged in any Uncle Tom foolery or whatever. Screw this small-minded thinking. They say screw this way of being black, and it's messed up. It's messed up. Um, and I love my black people. I love everybody. Okay, it doesn't really matter what race you are. I'm not gonna hate you just because you're black or white or whatever. But I feel like we have to stop using the terminology like whitewash to describe black people who don't fit into stereotypes of blackness. And we also have to stop responding to these like dumbass accusations with real, legitimate, and dangerous anti-blackness. Because these modes of thought lead to real life harm for a lot of people. Getting deep into anti-blackness, it's harmful. It harms the way you perceive yourself. It harms the way you interact with other people. You start, like wanting to distance yourself from blackness as much as possible. Or you get self-conscious about your blackness and you're like, you do stuff to seem more black to yourself when in reality you can, by virtue of having this much melanin, you're black. By virtue of having African heritage, you're black. Listening to rap music doesn't make you black. Trying to find black movies to watch doesn't make you black. It puts you in with the culture of blackness, but it doesn't make you black. And this is something else I could talk about, how a certain subset of people interact with black culture and black media and stuff like that in an attempt to get in good with like black people or whatever. But when the chips come down to it, they don't actually care about black people. Or like the people who mimic and copy black culture without, like any respect for the culture or anything like that. Like 90% of K-pop, some of these white rappers out here, it's just tragic. And I don't know. I feel like I can't talk about this seriously at school because I'll get flamed to hell. Um, but like, it's just the way it is. This is how I feel. And I'm looking at the runtime. Nobody's watching this on TikTok. This is a YouTube video for real. So yeah, I made this little small one before I work on my big media critique or whatever. This is like this is kind of the sequel to my I Despise Coons video. This is a sequel, and thinking about what I call it, but you'll see. You'll see. Just got a notification on my phone. No one is talking about the Epstein files. What are we doing?